Hello and welcome to the second episode of Perspectivication. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that is very close to my heart. And I'm pretty sure this is a topic that at one moment or the other you guys would have definitely thought about, if not spoken and actively discussed about. And the topic is about the wonders of AI, artificial intelligence, and what will happen in future. Would robots powered by cutting edge AI will take over the world? Would we become subservient to artificial intelligence? So the topic or thesis of my conversation today is that should the question be about would AI take over the humankind in future, or have we already lost the battle to AI? For those of you who know me personally or have heard from me, you will know that I am a very passionate advocate of everything new technology has to offer, and AI is something that I hold very close to my heart. I think it holds great promises, but still I am forced to make this point that AI is all around us. It will be a lot more of it in times to come, no doubt about it. But in many ways, it is already ruling your mind. Let me start by some background information, and then I will try to sort of dissect this topic into two or three key topics that we need to discuss about. And hopefully, when we put it all together towards the end, you will understand what this is all about, and the questions that you will ask would be a lot more appropriate. And I believe the solution to any problem can only come after you have thought about and articulated the problem the right way. So I'm stating the problem in one way. Hopefully by the end of this talk, you will understand the problem is perhaps a little different, and you will all define problems in your own ways. First, let me talk about the fact that the AI as we know today is actually not very complex or evolved. It is good, it is great, it is exciting, but it is what I would broadly call as narrow AI or weak AI. This is AI that knows how to do a particular job very good. We are all talking about the times when we will have general or strong AI, which is like our human beings. It's not just about one thing, it is about a lot of different things that AI can do. So if what I describe now is going to sound, wow, it is significant, then multiply that by 100 or 1,000 times, and that's the world that we are going to get into. Let me start by making two statements just to get the conversation sort of exciting. It may seem like these statements are sort of random, don't mean much, but towards the end I will pick up these two statements and I will use these two statements to summarize and conclude what I'm trying to say. Statement number one: a tree is worth more dead than alive. Number two: we are all reading our own newspapers. Don't think too much about it. Remember the two statements, because I'm going to use these two statements to summarize what I want to say towards the end of the conversation. Now, let me ask you a particular question, and the reason I'm speaking about what I'm going to speak about is that I've noticed something about me which has changed. Have you noticed that the world around us seems to be a lot more polarized than what we knew it to be? Over the last 3, 5, 7, 10 years, you have seen a lot more polarization. People have stronger opinions. You are in camp A or camp B. You are either with me or against. If you see the evolving political establishment, whether it is US or India, Europe, France, Japan perhaps, you are increasingly seeing leaders which have very strong opinions. And this is not a political discourse, so I'm not going to take a stance on whether this is right or this is not. The question is, I think we will all agree that the world seems to have become more polarized, people seem to have much stronger notions. We have all become more opinionated. And if you actually think about yourself, because I thought about it. So yesterday night when I was sort of trying to build a mental model of what I'm going to talk about in this topic, I was thinking about it. And I felt that I think I see a change in my personality, especially last 5 years, I would say. I seem to have become a person who has stronger views. There is higher degree of polarization in the way I think. I think about certain topics. I have become a lot more opinionated. In many debates and discussion, I feel my style of debates has become a lot more stronger. I strongly feel about what my point of view is, and I more strongly disagree about anybody else's point of view. Okay, just think about it. And my hypothesis is most of you, if you would just close your eyes and think about this for 5 minutes, you will understand. You will think, yes, there is some truth in what Puneet is saying. Yes, we have become, there has been something that has impacted our personalities. And that's the core of this topic. When I say AI is all around us, and maybe AI has already taken over, and what's bigger phenomena about taking over than something that influences our mind? If my mind is being influenced, which is what my hypothesis is, by an external agent, then that external agent is more powerful than me. This is what sort of religion or religious leaders or political leaders traditionally do. Strong opinions, and they influence us, and that's why they are more powerful than us, the individuals. I believe technology is beginning to do the same. Okay, so let me explain this complex phenomena by deconstructing it down into 3 topics that I will try to super simplify for you. First topic is this whole phenomena. What is this new AI or machine learning? Second, this whole economic model ads, as we see, which is driving the entire internet and social phenomena. How does that work? And third, sort of a very brief discussion on what's this whole machinery called social networks, the Facebooks of the world, all about. So let's start by topic number 1, which is machine learning. What is this machine learning or AI which I'm saying is taking over? Even though I said it is narrow and not as sophisticated as what you will perhaps get 10 years down the line. So traditionally, in very simple terms, when a programmer wrote a piece of software, there were precise instructions, and the software is all about telling the computer to do a series of actions. And once the program is written, throughout its life, it just keeps repeating the same thing again and again and again. For example, if I enter my name and my electricity identification number, there is a program which is checking into the database and saying, here is your pending bill amount. It does this and that does it beautifully, but that's what it does. Some programmer told it what it needs to do, and then it does it beautifully well. And if you look at the whole phenomena of computing and internet and everything that has changed our lives in the last few decades, it is this sort of paradigm of programming. Artificial intelligence or machine learning totally changes this. What does it do? At its core, it's about writing a piece of program and telling it, I'm not going to tell you what you should do, but observe what Puneet is doing. Interpret and learn from what Puneet does, and then figure out what you should be doing, because I'm going to give you an objective. The only thing I care, Mr. AI, is that you should perform on that objective very well. So for example, if I'm on YouTube and watching a particular video, this piece of AI just keeps watching and keeps looking at what Puneet is doing. And it figures out, hey, these days, if there is a video about Indo-China conflict or a video about US-China conflict, Puneet seems to be very interested in that. Every time Puneet finds a video which is related to this topic, he pauses, takes notice, and views it. And say 80% of the time, if there is a video that has to do with, let us say, a recipe, or a video that has to do with something else, or a video that has to do with international politics and all this geopolitical drama that is going on, I see Puneet has highest interest in this topic. So now, that AI says, okay, earlier Puneet used to come and search for a particular video and YouTube used to see it. Now it comes and say, hey Puneet, just a few hours back, a very interesting video was uploaded by somebody somewhere which talks about this topic that you are very interested. Why don't you see it? So I get an alert, I get a notification, or when I go to YouTube, there's that video on top of the screen. Please note that you don't see that video. I see it. Because this piece of AI is figuring out what fancies me. And the objective that has been given to this AI by its masters, the programmers, by YouTube programmers in this case, is actually quite not evil. It is that keep Puneet happy, keep him engaged, give him what he would love. There's nothing wrong, there's no evil that is happening here, but you will see how this all adds up and evil emerges out of this. Nobody is trying to do evil, but evil could emerge out of it. Okay, so that's AI. It has the ability to constantly observe and then figure out and figure out what I think. So it starts thinking like me. It is sort of like proxy of my mind as far as particular taste is concerned. And over a period of time, 9 out of 10 times, it is able to judge and figure out what Puneet would like. So even before Puneet searches that on YouTube, it just presents it in front of me. It's like my alter ego. No evil, no bad intention. It is just trying to make me happy. That's topic number 1. AI, ML, what it is. Topic number 2. This whole ad economy. We don't pay attention to it, especially those who don't work in this area. You don't sort of notice that. It seems more like an irritant, but you're getting incredible amount of services out there and they all seem free. Obviously, you know they are not free because you don't pay subscription fee, but the providers are making money indirectly by showing this ad. That's how televisions worked, and we have used to this for forever. Nothing wrong about it, but I'll tell you how in the online work this ad engine works. When you watched TV and you're watching a particular channel in a particular country, irrespective of where you are, who you are, you would always see the same ad. But that's not the same when it comes to these online platforms. So it's a complex thing, but I will simplify it for you. So basically, there are people who want to show me ads. Let us say there's somebody who's trying to sell a car, a sports car, a car of a particular type. Okay, there's somebody who's trying to sell a FMCG product, a new cold drink, and similarly there's somebody who's trying to sell perhaps a gun, something very niche, very specific. So how the system works is that the advertiser tells the social network, say in this case YouTube, to look, if there is somebody who is in the age group say 30 to 45 who lives in the city of Bangalore in India and who perhaps has a family with kids, or you can even go down and say who lives in a particular locality, I want you to show my ad to those people, because I know there is a high probability they would be the kind of people who would be interested. Seems logical. What's wrong in personalization? Personalization is what is making this whole internet phenomena and social phenomena beautiful. Everybody is getting more and more personalized service. Nothing wrong about it. In fact, that's a value that somebody is trying to deliver. So now what is happening? There is bidding happening. There are 1,000 advertisers, each are trying to show an advertisement to me. Now the way the network makes money is if I watch this ad. If I just skip the ad, then nobody makes any money. So it is in the interest of YouTube or Facebook to actually show the ad which may be of interest to me. And I told you about that machine learning, the AI who's beginning to think like me. So that AI is now guessing reasonably well about what products I would like. So while there are 1,000 people bidding, somebody says, if Puneet watches this ad, I will pay 10 rupees. Somebody says, I will pay 5 rupees. Somebody says, I will pay 20 rupees or 50 rupees. So there's a bidding going on. So at real time, there is algorithm which is trying to figure out, oh, Puneet has just started or clicked watching a Formula 1 race video. Now before the video starts, I have to decide which ad to show. So that one, YouTube makes more money, so whoever is paying more money gets a chance. But it's not just about more money, because it is expensive ad, but if I don't watch it and skip it, nobody makes a money. So I have to choose the most paying ad where there is high probability of me watching. So what is happening is social media networks are trying to offer tools which allows the advertiser to choose at a much more micro level who this ad would be most suitable for. In fact, if you go to Facebook, they've gone even a step ahead. And the way you can specify who should see your ad, let me give you an example. Have you heard about flat earthers? There is a community of people across the globe who believe that the earth is flat. And they are all well-educated, sort of sane-looking people, if I may say, and they have a strong belief, and they have written papers, they have scientific conferences that happen, and they have strong arguments and conviction that everything else is a big conspiracy, but world is indeed flat. If you talk to them, they will tell you with conviction and with scientific arguments, or scientifically sounding arguments, if I may. Now obviously, and flat earther would not agree, but a person with such strong opinions about topics like flat earth has a certain psychological bent of mind. Okay, maybe they are more prone to accepting conspiracy theories. Now imagine I am a political organization. I have an advertisement which has a high probability of influencing a mind which is like this flat earther's mind. Very strong opinion. And they believe, their scientific research shows that people with propensities to believe in conspiracy theories may believe our viewpoint and viewpoint better. And that view may be a wrong view. Obviously, wrong is subjective, but it may be an extreme view. It may be to do with topics like gun control and a particular opinion about gun control. So now in Facebook, you can go, hey, I'm going to pay you. I have a budget of just $100, and I will go and pay you 10 cents, 10 rupees for every person who watches that ad. But I want you to show this ad to men age X to Y and people who on Facebook like or follow flat earth kind of groups. You figured out how easy it is now? You can actually get access to a micro audience that you know how you can manipulate for $50 or $100 just by asking Facebook. Just show it to people who are like that. You don't have to go deeper than that. And Facebook will oblige, because more micro the definition of the audience is, the higher the probability of the ad being successful and they making money. So that's the ad model. I hope you got it. So I'll talk about the third and final topic, and then I will conclude. The third topic is really understanding how do the social networks work. From a business perspective, it is simple, and I will reiterate I have no reason to believe any of these popular social networks, whether it is YouTube or it is Facebook or it is Twitter, any of them, whether there is an evil intention that you want to sort of rule the world and you want to sort of over control the audiences. No, that's not the case. I strongly believe that. Okay. But you have got to understand the business model. The business model is, like we discussed, people come to Facebook. I'm taking Facebook as an example. It's an easy example. Everybody talks about it. I don't want to make Facebook the only villain, but they are perhaps the more prominent out there. People go to Facebook. They spend some time. Let us say I log in the morning to Facebook and spend half an hour browsing and interacting. During this half an hour, Facebook gets an opportunity to show me ad 5 or 10 times, out of which 2 or 3 times I watch the ad. And in this process, Facebook, let us has made $1 from me. And obviously, you have 500 million people. So you can actually make hundreds of millions of dollars from all your users in a very short period of time, if you are able to keep me engaged. So what is the business objective? If a person comes to Facebook, give them enough personalized content of the type that they like so that they spend more time. If Puneet spends 10 time, let Puneet spend 20 minutes. If Puneet spends half an hour, let's give him more so that he spends an hour. That's number one. Second, if Puneet leaves after doing the job in the morning, how do I get him back? That algorithm tells Mr. Zuckerberg, Puneet is massively interested in anything to do with the Sino-India border conflict right now. So if there's an interesting twist or news, just send it to him. And I see a notification with an exciting topic. I tap it and I'm back into Facebook. And while I was just watching that video and suddenly see something interesting from a very close friend who has not spoken to me for quite some time, and there's an interesting update, and I start responding to that, and I then end up sharing something, and then I again sort of spending more time. It's not that I just go there, watch the video and come back. The platform is baiting me by constantly showing something below it, something above it, and I spend more time. So the objective is very simple. Create a good platform, show good content, not very different from how televisions were. So if you think social media is evil, then television is evil. So that's why I'm very worried if we sort of take a very simplistic view of this being evil and that being evil. It's a technology. It's useful technology, but then it is doing what its job is, to keep the engagement, how much time I spend, and show me content that I like, understand my preferences, and by showing me the right content and the right kind of ads which appeal to me, make more money about it. So now you see all the three pieces fitting together. There is an AI which is constantly understanding every day what I like, what my tastes are changing. Right now, this is my interest is in about border conflict and the US elections. 2 months later, it will be different. So it will constantly be knowing what's hot for Puneet right now, and just keep showing me this. Second, the algorithm has been given this objective. The algorithm is not trained, show him massively right-wing political content. Nobody is telling. Show whatever Puneet likes. So by observing what I like and inferring from that and showing me more of that, it's just keeping me entertained. And then there is this ad engine, which is all about multiple people bidding, social networks telling advertisers who are the people who may respond back to your ads, and they're making money out of it the way I described. And the whole economic model here is about spend more time, see more ads, and there is no more evil than that. Now what is happening? And that's where I would like to conclude the topic. My topic was, has it already taken over? And by taking over, I meant that, is it already influencing your beliefs? Now, the side effect of what's happening here is this. I remember I made this statement. We are all reading our own newspapers. Now, put everything in perspective. There was a time we all used to read the same newspaper. So what you know is what I know. If there is an event that has happened, I read the event the same way you do. So when we get together, we are all sort of equipped with these common facts. And we may have our biases and our views, but then the discussions happened, and discussions were a lot more moderate because we were all seeing the world the way everybody else sees that. But now that Mr. AI, what I'm seeing on my social feed, which is my newspaper now, is unique to me. Nobody else in this world sees the same stuff that I see. And since that is trying to just please me, it is constantly throwing content at me, which is of the type that I like, which supports my notions, my belief, and it is strengthening my beliefs. Whereas somebody who has a different belief is constantly seeing that kind of stuff. So the two friends meet and I say, hey buddy, I just can't understand with the kind of stuff that I have noticed happening in the last 1 month. Why do people behave this way? And the guy is surprised. He said, Puneet, are you smoking? The kind of stuff that I have been seeing in the last 1 month tells me that these guys are aggrieved, and I think I would want to go out and do something for them. You can see, because it is trying to please us, not with an evil intention of sort of selling certain beliefs. What we like is feeding into what AI shows me, and I get more and more and more of the same thing, and my beliefs get accentuated. That's why I believe this AI is now, from just sort of keeping us happy and showing us, it is beginning to sort of influence our beliefs, and that's a dangerous thing. Now what can be done? Should we stop and delete the social network? Some people are doing that. You may want to do that. I, for one, definitely believe that's the weakest thing that you can do. If we had this approach, we would still be living in the Iron Age. Cars did that for us. We started walking less. We became lazy. Books did that to us. We're spending more times at home reading books and rather than going out and meeting people. Television did that to us. Medical care made us sort of build habits differently than figuring out right ways to sort of self-balance ourselves. But would you sort of want to go back? And what we are seeing here is no different. It's like nuclear technology. It can be very dangerous, and we have seen in World War II how it has been super dangerous. But would you want to sort of go back to the world where we don't have the knowledge which resulted in sort of creation of nuclear weapons? Our understanding of the universe and what's going to happen in the next 10, 20, 30 years, including medicines which are curing millions of people from incurable diseases, coming from the same knowledge. So I think it will be very premature to say do that. Now you have a choice. You can sort of deal with it in the interim by spending less time on social network, which I suggest you should do. Okay. But I think the right solution is finding out why this is happening and what is the best lever. There are many levers. What is the best lever to control? And to do that, let me go to the very first statement that I made, which is a tree is more valuable dead than alive. I have a nice tree that is growing in my backyard. It's a beautiful tree. It's cleaning up the air, increasing the oxygen supply, giving shade to birds. It's good in so many different ways. But what's the economic value of the tree that I've grown in my backyard? Zero. Moment I cut it, I kill it, I sell wood, I get economic value. Do you see the problem here? The economic world order is created in such that it is incentivizing exact opposite to what it should be doing. If there was an economic model where there was an incentive to keep growing and nurturing more trees, wouldn't this earth be a better place as far as the quality of air and the temperature is concerned? But the economic order just pushes us to do the opposite. That, I believe, is the biggest problem. The only way enterprises, organization increase value, their share prices move up today is stuck to this one proxy, which is free cash flow. How much profit you are making. And therefore, and every company and you in the work that you do are doing the same. So don't think you are some noble person and Zuckerberg or Sundar Pichai is an evil man. They are doing exactly what we all do. So because their objective is to run an organization which makes profit, they're trying to balance whatever they can do. So, and they are in the business of software. They have written a software. And AI has been told, maximize profit for me. How do you maximize profit? If you do two things: get more people to use me, use Facebook, and get each one to spend more time, and each one to view more ads. Go to my sort of initial description of machine learning. You've created a piece of software and say, this is all that I care. Now observe Puneet and make sure you do that, because if you don't do that, you will be fired. I will create another AI algorithm which does better than you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what is happening. Think about it and figure out what we can all do. The thing that I would hope is not the simplistic solution, that let me sort of go away from the mainland and sort of live a life which is isolated. Let me cut technology, this whole digital detox. It's good. Wherever we are doing more, we should do less. But the real answer is, there is such a powerful phenomena which can change our lives in a multitude of ways. But there is a big risk. And the risk is so big that now this is that AI, you didn't even realize, but if you agreed with my hypothesis that we have all become more polarized, more opinionated, this means that software is already having this effect on your mind. And the right way to deal with is to collectively push for better control, better regulation. In a very meaningful, regulation is a very dangerous topic. My soul sort of is so free that I sort of hate the word regulation, but we need to figure out some of these things. We need to make sure that we all move towards, and the solution to this problem is not just a problem for AI and social networks, it's for everything else. We need to make sure that there is more incentive in growing trees than cutting trees. And that requires a fundamental change in the way we all work towards a different economic world order. We need to sort of make our views heard. We need to push our political leaders into think about it the right way. And in the meantime, hopefully, the perspectives that I have tried to give can sort of make you be a little bit more aware of your mind and how this game that is going on between mind and what you do. Maybe next time when you go to YouTube, don't sort of like a zombie watch all the videos that it recommends. Just go and search for things. Maybe log off and watch it so that algorithm has no opportunity and just shows you something else, etc. You may find that there are so many different topics, some facets of your personality that engage in a different way. That poor guy, the poor algorithm is just watching you. So it is really not AI driving you. It is you are driving AI in the way it is driving you. And hopefully this awareness, this perspective that I'm trying to give you via the second episode of Perspectivification helps you think about it.